Alrighty, we're good to go. Ready? Okay, this out of the way.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name's Dave. I work with the police department. Bear with me here. This is the first time I'm doing this for the workshop over Zoom. So if we have any issues, we'll work through them. Like Jamie said, I'll be, if people come in late, I will be admitting them as they come in. So we might be having a few more that are joining us a little late. I'm going to put my PowerPoint up now. I'm going to talk through it. And today, again, just talking about my role within the department, how I interact with the local school district or others, and then kind of some of the things that we do within the community with the schools involved. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started.
First. Yeah.
So just a little bit about myself. I've been in Chicago Ridge since 2002. And I've been working primarily with kids since about 2004 when I went into investigations. So I've been here for quite some time. Some of the other things that I do that kind of involve the schools is critical incident response. I have done teacher seminars before for instruction how to do that, building security, participating in strategic planning sessions. I've done a lot of those and things like that. I do have some other responsibilities that I do at the station, but primarily my main job is providing investigation and services to kids. So I've been doing that for quite some time. I do have a master's degree in social work, so it kind of helps me, navigate some of the things that I do here as far as providing those services to kids. I've been in the supervisor of investigation since 2015. And some of the other things that I do is school related is I am an adjunct instructor for the state certification for officers to become school resource officers. I do have the school resource officer certification. And although I'm not really that in this capacity, I'm more of a liaison because I'm not stationed inside of a school. I do provide those same services. So as far as within the community itself, I have a great relationship with the school district. Like I said, I've been that way since 2004, been through about 3 or 4 superintendents, and I go into all of the both the elementary schools, the junior high, the high school when I need to. So with Richards and in Oak Lawn High School, that where we feed into, I do step into there and help them out every once in a while when need be. And then we used to have obviously a Catholic school inside our town, which is now not operating right now, but so we did provide services to all those involved. We really have an open relationship as far as like they have my cell phone number. We call each other whenever we need to as far as things that could potentially be school related or have originated inside schools. So that way we can have a plan for anything that comes up. If anyone has any questions while I'm talking today, please feel free to unmute and ask those questions. And that way I can give you the best information. But like I said, we do have a great relationship with the school. I'm a dedicated juvenile officer that specifically responds to any of the school needs. I'm not going to say it's on a daily basis that I get called, but it's quite often that one of the schools is calling me, throughout the week, if not every day, for something that comes up or looking for advice and vice versa. So that's pretty much what I do as far as, working together with the schools. I do provide a lot of services like for the kids as well. Some of the programs that we offer in the community is bike patrol, park patrol. We do provide obviously our crossing guards. As far as like some of the other things like bike patrol and park patrol, those are more or less seasonal driven. Bike patrol is more towards the summer. Obviously, in the summer hours, we do allow our officers to go out and ride our bikes. So we do have like an ATV that we drive around town that can get places near the train tracks that squads can't go to. We have part-time officers that are doing our park patrol, where this part of their job is to hit every single park and make sure they check in and things like that, make sure everything's okay, to try to alleviate any issues that may come up at the parks, because it has happened in the past. So we did institute that park program, and so far it has worked out for us. Red Ribbon Week, that just happened not too long ago. We do provide the entire school district with and staff with red ribbons to promote drug and alcohol free week and education materials. And as far as the younger kiddos, we do provide both Ridge Lawn and Ridge Central with Halloween bags, I believe up and through first grade. So we've been doing that for quite some time. So we want to continue to do those programs and provide those things for the staff and the kids as much as we can. A lot of what I do, obviously COVID-19 affected a lot what I do as far as in classroom instruction due to the pandemic, or it's the school district rules as far as outside guests coming inside school, being inside the classrooms. So although that has kind of reduced itself over the last school year or so, we're hoping that after January, when usually my primary time to be in the schools can reopen, and I can be back in the classroom. So I provide, obviously depends on the grade level, but I do various topics throughout the school year that I teach a wide range of kids these things, up and including the junior high. So the heavy grades that I mostly do is 5th grade. Everyone else is usually once or twice a year. So in conjunction with the fire department, we do a program called Risk Watch, and every month's kind of like a different topic. The two of ours that we do is gun safety, which is the month of November, and bike safety, which I do more towards the end of the school year, just because the weather is kind of getting nice, and the kids going to be outside on their bikes. I come in the classroom. Usually my sessions last about 35 minutes. And the entire pre-K through 5th grade see both of those topics. And obviously that's something that we're hoping to get back to after January, depending upon where the numbers are and things like that as far as COVID. But those are things that we do provide, and we give materials for and show some videos and things like that, some safety videos. Train safety, we picked this up, the Illinois Harbor Belt, which is the rail line that comes through town here for the freight trains. We used to switch off with them every other year for train safety. They have since, a long time ago, it's over 10 years, stopped doing that program. So we continued with it. And so every year, again, pre-K through 5th grade first grade through 5th grade gets train safety. Because most younger kids than that are usually with their parents. So we provide, materials, and we show videos, and we talk about how to be safe around trains, because we do have a lot of train traffic in town between the metro train and the freight line. So the kids do get that type of safety annually when we're in the classroom. Stranger dangers, obviously for the younger kids, pre-K through 2nd grade. I do a stranger danger presentation for them. Again, showing short videos and providing handout materials, things like that, to the kids. And then internet safety is more for the older kids. So 3rd grade through 5th, I do internet safety. and we talk about how to be safe on the internet. And it's more or less not even just using computers these days. It's involving all electronic devices, between tablets and computers, laptops, cell phones, things like that. We talk about, how to be safe and kind of what to do, what not to do on the internet. And I know it's kind of like one of the big things now because there's so much technology and everything's related to it, even video games you can play online. So we try to encompass all of that in our presentation to teach how to be safe across all those platforms and what not to do and what to keep off of the internet, because that's their stranger danger. Then for the older kids, 5th grade, we do a lot more inside the classroom work with them. I usually see them on average about 6 to 8 times between the beginning to the end of the school year for 5th grade. They get all of what I've already said, and including bullying and things like that, and peer pressure. We talk again, bullying, it can sometimes connect with internet safety because of issues that we can see over any of those devices. But we do get inside the classroom instruction as well. Peer pressure, both of those are like in the same unit 2 different times. And so we do talk about that. As far as the junior high, usually I go in and it's involving their tobacco unit, where they talk about tobacco and drug use and things like that. And we talk about anything involving those topics and how to be safe. So it coincides with drug, alcohol, tobacco, and how those things are dangerous to do and things like that. So that's pretty much what the junior high is. Usually I go in the health program and I see them there. So I only see each kid in the junior high when I'm there once a year, because they have so many things that they have to get through. That's just the time I was allotted. And we try to make the best of what we can do for that one time a year in the health program. And then there's topics that come up throughout the year. Maybe one of these other topics needs to be addressed. Something happened in the community. Something was isolated where it's an issue within the classroom or within a certain grade level. And then I could, either I'll do all school assemblies, I'll talk to a grade level specific or a classroom level specific. And I can talk about anything that comes up that the principal needs me to cover because something came up or needs to be readdressed, whether it happened on the bus, happened inside school, outside of school, anything that community related that, the principals feel like would be helpful, I then readdress or talk specifically about. I want to talk a little bit about juvenile law. It is changing a little bit, but by statute, juveniles, anything under the age of 18. A minor is considered anything under the age of 21. So those are just a couple little tidbits, and all it is how we treat kids when we either talk to them as a witness or a victim, or on the other side as far as an offender. That's what those age ranges are for. It relates to Miranda rights and things like that. So sometimes when I unfortunately have to deal with a kid who did something on the bad end of things, obviously nothing's really changes between adults and kids as far as, constitutional rights and things like that. I just know it's more of a formality, because sometimes kids want to talk to me and parents want their kids to talk to me about whether they're a witness or a victim or an offender and things. And as soon as I put out, Miranda rights and things like that, everyone is, it's kind of a thing that you never heard. You thought your kid was going to be heard or be told or be asked of if they understand their constitutional rights. So we do read everybody those things, and because rights doesn't change between whether you're an adult or a kid. So that's a formality in order for me or any other officer for that matter to talk to your kids about something. They have to be aware of their rights, especially if they're looking at something where they are the ones doing a potential crime. Current trends, I don't know. That's necessarily, we all know about some of the current trends within our community with, threats against schools and things like that. We've been fortunate. We've only had one, where our neighboring community in Oak Lawn has had several. So those are some of the current things that we are seeing. And obviously we're still looking to try to find the person responsible for ours. But what makes it difficult is obviously social media or parents not wanting their kids being involved in investigation and things like that. So as far as any trends, we do see, we as far as community and neighboring communities, we have seen obviously those on the rise. We've had some of those in the past, and when we found out who it was, we obviously did prosecute them and send them to court because obviously it was a disturbance to not only the school, but to the community as a whole. And, it creates a panic where, parents don't want to send their kids to school, and we treat that as something serious. So, obviously we, do the best that we can do to try to resolve and figure out who is behind some of these things. As far as some other trends, I mean, obviously we have a mall. We have a lot of traffic there, especially now with the holiday season. You can expect some retail thefts and things like that to kind of spike a little bit. But that's nothing unusual. That's a day-to-day thing for us. So I wouldn't even call that a trend for us because we have the mall, but for other communities it might be. So that's just kind of a few things that we see happening now. Obviously, with the widespread of social media, you can't even call it a trend anymore because it's not new. But kids, kind of bullying each other over the internet or a video game or using some type of social media app. Those are always things that are going to be present and things that we look into and we try to resolve. Whether it's, the two families talking with mediation, or, we have to bring it to another level, which is the court system. So that's pretty much about peer mediation. Peer mediation, it happens on either with me involved, the school has peer mediation, or we use an outside service to provide those things. If anybody needs information on that, my info is at the tail end of the presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any phone calls or any questions that you may have. Some of the other things that I do provide parents on a situational basis is, sitting down with a kid who is, obviously has behavioral change. They're becoming a problem, whether in the school or at home, causing, some type of, disturbance, or this, it's obviously a change in how they're acting, behavior changes. I do at times have offered to speak with the kid and try to help out in that situation. But the first thing I try to do is obviously refer you out to services, or I'm willing to sit down and talk with you, and talk with your child on some things. Some of the other things I want to talk about is status offenses. Obviously, this has kind of changed within the last couple of years with obviously tobacco laws changing. So status offenses are offenses that that as an adult are not a crime, but obviously under the age of now 21 are still, a child can still be issued a local ordinance ticket, or if it's extreme, be referred to the courthouse. Those are things like possession of tobacco, possession of alcohol, obviously illegal possession of cannabis. Cannabis is legal, obviously, for certain ways, whether it's a medical card or you go into a dispensary and you can have so much of it. But for kids, obviously, it's still a status offense, and some things we still deal with at our local court for those things. And we actually do in town, we're part of grant programs to do spot checks on our local businesses to ensure that they're not selling any of these products to our kids. So, obviously you have to be 21 to purchase anything as far as alcohol, tobacco, and obviously dispensaries with cannabis and things like that. So you have to be of a certain age. So we do send people into those businesses undercover, so to speak, that are under 21, in the efforts to make sure that they're compliant and not selling kids in our community or other kids those things that they shouldn't have. So we do those things throughout the year, whether it's alcohol at a bar or tobacco at at the local stores, at the convenience stores. So some possible disposition. So for example, if something happens to a kid where they're presented to me where they've done something wrong, the first thing that I do, especially if it's involving the school, is we assess the severity of it. We are part of threat assessment teams, either at the district wide, or is it because it affects the whole district, or it's just isolated to a certain school, and we want to make sure that all kids are safe. So, in those situations, if it does involve the school, we do sit down, we talk about it, we see what our response should be. If it is considered a police matter and I'm involved or another officer's involved, although I'm primary, there's certain things that can happen if we feel a kid is responsible for what is going on or whatever they did and improve that. As a state certified juvenile officer, I can assign punishment to kids, and it's a wide variety of things. I can sentence them to several months of probation. I can assign up to 24 hours of community service, make sure they stay away from certain areas or people that they're involved with, make sure they make sure they're attending school, they're not truant, and they're abiding by certain curfews. And we can actually set different curfews if I see it fit as far as that punishment. And all those are under informal station adjustments. So if I feel something is, it's first time nonviolent offense, and, I'm going to more or less do an informal station adjustment with the kid and assign one of those things. I can assign essays to write, like I said, community service. I can refer them out to peer jury service. Right now, I don't believe they're doing that just yet. But what it is I would refer it to Worth Township Youth Service Bureau. They will go in front of their peers. Most of them are high school students with an adult moderator. And what would happen there is the child would be present, obviously over the age of 10. At the age of 10, kids are responsible for their actions and can find themselves in juvenile court, depending upon what the offense is. So they talk about what happened, and then the peer jury then assigns a punishment, pretty much of what I can do, assign community service, letters, essays, apology letters, probation, things like that. If the informal station adjustment is violated, whether it's I send it out to peer jury and things are not done, or there's a violation locally, and I can take that case and then transfer it to the court as a breach of the contract for the station adjustment. Going back to truancies really quick before I continue, that is something I do also work with the school district with. I do house visits. They call me on truancies, where they had a student who's chronically truant from school, absent or late. We have been involved in issuing out those citations for a local ordinance violation for truancy. And that's also one of the status offenses. Some of the other things that I guess are a trend still is kids bringing vapes to school. Obviously, they're not allowed to have it in the first place, but we have seen that as a trend is, kids think they're going to bring it to school, and because, it's not really, there's no smoke involved and things like that, and they can try to get away with it, but they have been caught in school, and it's usually obviously isolated to the junior high. Never had anything in elementary school yet, but that is obviously an ongoing thing with the junior high. A few times a year they do come in contact with a student who brings a vape device to school. Formal station adjustment, that is more or less a binding contract between myself and obviously the parents and the offending child, where they are fully processed but not sent to court based on the consequences that I assign, things like that. I usually do those for more serious cases and things like that. And then court referral is actually sending it to the courthouse. Anytime a child does a felony, things like that. For me, I don't speak for other communities, but for our department, usually when a felony happens within our boundaries, that juvenile is going to be sent to court automatically. And when I say slow, I say have slow in parentheses or in quote in kind of like in capital letters there. Slow means like I'm not sending them for detention downtown. That means they'll have a hearing process that could start in 30 to 40 days. We're not seeking custody, that type of thing. So court referrals usually are more for obviously offenses that are all felonies or any, repeats or, kids, were a victim of a battery and they got obviously they received medical treatment because they have cuts or bruises or broken bones and things like that. We usually always send over to the courthouse. The detention center, anybody over the age of 10 years old can find themselves go to the detention center, but those are for pretty serious crimes. So the ones that obviously we would do is anytime a child has a warrant for their arrest out of the juvenile court system, it's an automatic transfer to the detention center downtown. Serious offenses, anything in time involving a gun, things like that. Threats to school, depending on the nature, we have sent to the detention center and things like that. And then that pretty much is there for a court date the next day. So we do all of these. Most of the time we don't send kids downtown unless it's something serious. And it's really hard to get them down there anyways within Cook County, but we do get them down there if it's something serious. Most of the time it's usually an informal station adjustment or court referral is probably the two most that we utilize in this community as far as dispositions and cases and so on and so forth. Let's talk a little bit about domestic violence and specialized crime. Obviously, like school staff here, we're DCFS mandated reporters. We work with a wide variety of different agencies. When it comes to kids, it's like a multidisciplinary team that's involved to ensure the safety of the child is being met on all levels. And so we do work a lot. Oftentimes, if kids come to school with suspected abuse and things like that, they report it or outcry to a teacher or another staff member. We are involved with the schools and DCFS as a team. I also work with, again, I mentioned already, Worth Township Youth Service Bureau. So besides peer jury and things like that and mediation, they do offer counseling on a sliding scale to parents that live within not only our community, but Worth Township, which is surrounding communities around us. So it's a great service to have within our community and a resource to have. So I do a lot of referrals out to them for counseling or other things, or just give information to parents. The Children's Advocacy Center, that's more for specialized crime. So there are times, and more often now, that we see within our state's attorney's office is they want interviews, their forensic interviews is what they're called, to happen with kids who are witnesses, victims of specialized crime, to include, whether it's some sort of abuse or they're witnessing a violent crime like a homicide or a robbery. The staff over at that center is specially trained to extract information in a non-leading way out of the kids. So that way, for court purposes or deciding on charges, we know that what we're getting out is truthful. So the staff members over there are specifically trained on how to talk to kids and things like that. So we utilize them a lot. It's more or less part of an investigation, especially like I mentioned, if we have witnesses or victims of certain crimes. We also work with the Crisis Center for South Suburbia, which is a shelter in the area in the south suburbs for victims of domestic violence and things like that. So we do work with a wide variety of agencies when it comes to domestic violence or specialized crime. And obviously, in this involving any of that would be obviously the state attorney's office, which is the prosecution side of any of our cases that we present to the courthouse. That was pretty much as much information is as far as what we do with the schools or what we do in the community, a little bit about what I do. My phone number for my office is on the screen, 708-425-7831. I am at extension 217. And like I mentioned before, so if you have a juvenile question or a concern about something that's happening in town, we do have online at our at Chicago Ridge, the Village of Chicago Ridge website. You can send us a email, if you want to give us information about something happening in town. What doesn't have to be just a kid or juvenile related. It's more or less like a tip line, things like that. But if you have a specific juvenile question, feel free to give me a call at that number, and I can be reached and I can answer your question as best as I can for what's going on in our community or whatever your question may be. Does anybody have any questions for me right now before we end the presentation about anything, whether it's happening in the community, what I do, what our police department does, or any concerns? Does anyone have any questions? Like I said, if something comes up at another date, feel free to give me a call, or something that's just community related, just send in a tip line that is on our website. Turn it back over to Jamie. She'll end the meeting, but again, I appreciate everyone's time.
All right, thank you all so much for joining us. Please make sure that you let your child's teacher know that you watched our meeting or watched the presentation today, so they can kind of check you off the list. So we're all done for today. I hope everybody has a great day. I hope everybody has happy holidays, happy weekend, have a good weekend. Thank you all so much for joining us. Bye, everyone.